And welcome to Weather and Ag in Focus on this chilly Monday, May 4th, 2026. I'm Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki, along with our Ag Director, Bridgette Readel. And boy, oh boy, after a nice mild weekend, Bridgette, we tanked the temperatures again back into the 40s. A good 20 to 25 degrees cooler today than it was yesterday. Hopefully you got out to enjoy what ended up being a pretty lovely weekend.
I would say standing in the field this morning with the wind that we had, there are a lot of guys wearing winter coats. It was brisk. If you were working on equipment out in the open, it's not pleasant. I pretty much feel like I'm completely covered in grit just from everything that was blowing outside today. It's a lot, but it's chilly. My passenger with me this morning and I both realized we should have had heavier jackets on.
Right? Oh, man. Yeah, it is a cool one out there today. In fact, we've got temperatures in the 40s across the area. There's a few light showers and sprinkles in the far northern valley and into northwest Minnesota. And those will be pressing southeastward. Most areas aren't going to see much at all, but just a cloudy, chilly day out there today. Again, temperatures remaining in the 40s to near 50 degrees. And then tonight we'll again drop down below the freezing mark, and as we head into Tuesday, even cooler with highs only in the 40s. And Wednesday, not much better. We'll be lucky to get to 50, so we'll be in the 40s most of the day. Things do improve by the end of the week, though. We'll be pushing temperatures close to 60 by Friday. And then for the next weekend, for the fishing opener, looks pretty good. Might see a few morning showers, light showers or sprinkles across Minnesota for the fishing opener on Saturday morning. But the rest of the day looks dry with temps in the 60s. And then cooler weather comes in for Mother's Day with temperatures dropping back into the 50s. So all in all, not a bad-looking forecast, but not a lot of rain in the forecast either. In fact, if you log on to our website, WDAYradionow.com, I got an article up there about how much rain we're looking at over the next 10 days. And I'll tell you what, it's not much. So the only good news for areas, let's say in the northern and central plains, is for the drought-stricken areas of Wyoming, Colorado, and southwest Nebraska and western Kansas. Those areas are going to see some much-needed precip over the next week or so, with 1 to 2 inches of liquid equivalent coming down in those areas. So good news for areas to our south, but again, not great news for our area with the dry conditions, especially out in the western part of the state. But again, like you said, Bridgette, it's not bad for planting. We just need some warmer weather in here. That's all.
Yeah, there's not a lot of folks who are planting corn. I had several folks this morning. They're just waiting for things to hopefully get a little warmer. Now, that's for everyone. Sooner or later, go to plant. And speaking of going to things, go to the LA Insurance phone line where we are joined by Blake of Landmark. Today is the drainage difference, talking about drain tile and so much. Blake and I got to spend the morning driving around together. So Blake hit up from the wind that we were in.
Yeah, it was plenty cool and plenty windy out there.
It was. So today was land companies and myself. We went out to Flag Farm, and Blake and I had the opportunity to visit with 5 or 6 different farmers, hand out U.S. flags, some cab snack bags for the day, and just get a chance to talk about the benefits of what Landmark companies. And Blake, would you introduce Landmark is as you did to the farmers this morning?
Say that one more time, Bridgette. You cut out.
Would you care to introduce who Landmark is, like you did with our farmers?
Yeah, so Landmark is an agricultural drain tile contractor in the Red River Valley. We do everything from sales to the design process, installation, maintenance, repair, lift stations, all of the above throughout, I'd say the tri-state area, essentially.
Well, some of the things that we saw this morning were an awful lot of alkali spots. And I fortuitously had a listener from the Cooperstown area ask, how can we improve the alkali areas, those white, chalky-looking areas in fields? Blake, you have a solution for that.
I do. An agricultural drain tile system will eventually clean out your soils, your acidic salts, alkalis over time. It obviously takes moisture because the moisture is what carries that stuff through into your tile system and eventually gets it off of your out of your soil and off the property. I've seen many acres of land, I guess I should say, that literally wouldn't grow anything for a quarter mile from the highway, and since it's been tiled, it grows level all the way to the highway. Like, I'm talking your corn crop, you know what I mean? It's consistently across the whole field. It's just amazing to see.
If you have, like we saw some areas this morning where there were quite a number of different patches of alkali across the field. Can you tile that in together? Should you only tile part of the field? What do you do in some of those situations?
It's going to be dependent on the piece of property that we're looking at. Like where we were today, it was pretty rolly, not real flat, like in the valley right in Fargo Moorhead, or up and down the interstate. So in those situations, I would say you see more spot tiling, which is kind of what you're referring to. We'll go out and get that spot that doesn't grow anything because it's full of alkali, but we won't tile the tops of the hills and the sides of the hills if they don't need it. You get into a real flat valley piece of ground, and typically we'll pattern tile that whole property.
We were out around Tower City to Ariska to south of Peak, real close to Valley City this morning, and we noticed there were some fields like on the east side of the road that were tiled, and then you could see the alkali still on the west. So it's really possible that they're fixing their alkali on one side of the road, and that alkali is just kind of moving into other pieces of ground, and that could still be saved, right? We could still get productivity back from that.
Correct. Yep. With the proper installed and designed drainage system and a little bit of moisture and rain to carry that stuff through the soil, absolutely, we can get that ground back into production and save having to waste seed and spray and fuel farming something that doesn't produce.
Earlier we were also talking about erosion, and really tiling can be a very helpful preventative measure for some heavy soil erosion.
Yeah, anytime we can take the water into the soil versus it running off because it's already too saturated and taking nutrients and everything with it and putting it in the ditch, you're gonna see the benefit. That's for sure.
So have you got tile on hand? Are the crews ready to go and they're looking to book more acres with you, Blake?
Yep, the guys have been in the field for probably about 3 weeks now. We're down in South Dakota and southern Minnesota. We're working our way north. But yeah, the guys are rocking and rolling. We have a little bit of room in our spring schedule. Depending on how the spring goes, obviously, if it, that could get tightened way up. And if we get a really nice long spring where we can go a little longer, the farmers will let us, then we probably have a little more room to sell for spring. But still time to get signed up, and we can get some mains in the summer for you, and then finish your project in the fall, which we'll be doing a lot for guys this summer.
Well, everybody else is worried about shortages or expenses going up tremendously because of so many different changes with crude oil, petrochemical processes, etc. Have you noticed anything, or are things staying relatively flat? Like you bought all your tile and you're ready to go for the season, so let's get those things booked and taken care of sooner rather than later. Would that be a fair statement, Blake?
That is 100% fair statement. In fact, that you say that our second price increase in tile materials came on today, effective today. And yes, the petroleum market affects the resin market, which is what they make the tile from. So we are seeing our second price increase. So we had a fair amount of customers that we got signed up before the first one, and then we've had a fair amount to sign up last week to beat the price increase for today. But the second one is in effect as of today. So hopefully we don't see any more the rest of the year, and hopefully we get some relief maybe as we go forward here sooner than later.
A big thank you to you, Blake. Again, this is Blake Sunday. He is with Landmark Companies. Thanks for spending the morning with me, going out to visit farms. We kind of had a lot of fun, and if you are a client and you want to go out and do the same type of thing, flag a farmer with me from WDAY's Weather and Ag in Focus, you're certainly welcome to give us a call and we can do that. But Blake, how do people find you with Landmark Companies?
You can go to our website at www.landmarkteams.com. There's spots on there that you can request quotes and services. So you can find us there, or you can call our office at 218-284-2936, and we'll get you in touch with the right salesman or person for what you're looking for.
Blake is always here to help us with our questions about drain tile, because this is the drainage difference with Landmark Companies. He's joined us today via the JLA insurance line of 71239. Stay with us after the livestock report from the American Ag Network. We are going to be joined by Lainie Scholtz. She is True North Vet Health out of South Dakota. We'll have lots of great questions for her, and you can send your questions ag@flagfamily.com. If you need to reach out, watch the live stream. That's brought to us by Lighthouse Commodities, YouTube, Acres TV, and Facebook. We will be back after the livestock report. It is May. It is a beef month. What a great month to celebrate. I hope you've all had the opportunity to do that. Throw a burger on the grill. You never know. Maybe it's just one of those all beef franks that get advertised. It could be a steak. Whatever you choose to do, let Beef Month make you happy here for the month of May. Our guest today, who is joining us via video, is Lainie Stoltz, I believe, and she is True North Vet Health. Lainie, tell us about who you are, where you are, and what happens in your practice.
Yeah, well, thank you for asking me to be on the show. Yeah, my name is Lainie Scholtz. I'm a veterinarian in Wentworth, South Dakota, which is northwest of Sioux Falls. I primarily do horse veterinary medicine, general practice, lameness, dentals, some small surgeries, things like that. And then I also am involved in the cattle industry and the show livestock industry quite heavily because I do a lot of chiropractic and acupuncture.
So, as a vet who specializes in, again, like you said, horses in particular, as well as show cattle, was that always your intent, or did that specialty change a little bit while you were in vet school?
Yeah, when I was in vet school, I was just hoping to get a general practice mixed animal job. And so that's what I did at Prairie View Vet Clinic in Miller, South Dakota for a couple years. But then I just really fell in love with the horse work, and I have horses myself, and I rodeo all around South Dakota, North Dakota, Minnesota. And so the horses just became the main focus of my career after that. And then also too, a lot of it translates into keeping show cattle sound. So it kind of works hand in hand. And I feel like when you get an interest, then you just get more and more business because of that interest. And that's how it grew.
Now, specializing in horses, most folks would think, well, they seem like they're pretty easy. They just need a farrier now and then. What would you say is maybe a little more mind opening than that? Things that really do matter more to horses than maybe cattle.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the reason why we have such a shortage of equine veterinarians is because they're very specialized species, and they have a lot of issues that other animals don't have. Us as owners, we are very intentional with our decisions for them, and so we like to have a lot of options. But if you're expecting your horse to do anything for you, and even a horse that just does ranch work, they're still performing for you and have to be sound and happy to do their job.
Do you see some instances with horses, whether it's disease or injury, specific to breeds or more specific to what they do for work? Are they more of a ranch horse? Are they more of um, a saddle bronc, or if you're using them for barrel racing, that type of thing?
Yeah, for sure. So, in my practice, it's primarily rodeo horses. So, barrel
Hmm.
horses, rope horses. We have a lot of junior high 4-H horses, high school rodeo horses. And they all have their own job related injuries and things that they need to keep them healthy. It's kind of like, a roofer is going to have different pains than somebody that sits at a desk. And it's the same thing for these horses, is whatever their job is, and the repetitive use injuries that they have are usually very specific to the job that they do for us. So mostly I see quarter horses, but
Hmm.
also we have a subset of Arabians and warm bloods, draft horses, ponies, all those kind of horses. And I'm seeing more of them lately, actually, because I'm doing some research for equine metabolic syndrome for Beringer Ingelheim. And so horses that are more prone to having increased body conditions, so horses that basically get fat off of air, I have been seeing a lot of those lately too. So it's been kind of a fun and different group because I'm used to mostly working on performance horses.
Okay, hold on. Did you say fat off of air?
Yeah, it's kind of one of our terms that we use. We use a lot of slang in equine
Sure.
medicine, but so horses that take very little calories to gain weight typically have almost like a diabetes, like humans get, but they call it equine metabolic syndrome. and they are developing some treatments for that right now, which is exciting.
Okay, I'm probably going to ask a whole lot of different types of questions. Like I'm really good at, let's say, killing your Canada thistle. I'm not so good at making sure your horse is taken care of. Um, you know,
Yes.
there was a breakout last summer with a respiratory disease in horses, particularly in the southern states
Yeah.
of the U.S. And there were a number of events that were canceled, et cetera, in order to keep those horses healthy and from spreading. Is that still a concern? And actually, can you tell us a little bit about what was going on disease-wise and why folks were so cautious about getting horses together in a common area?
Yeah, so that outbreak was from equine herpes virus, and that is a respiratory virus that in very few horses can mutate into a neurologic condition that's typically non recoverable, at least to full athletic performance. So these outbreaks were happening at big athletic events, and so these horses were intended to be, barrel raced was the main place that it was happening. And so they have to be really cautious because you can't get them exposed to something that could potentially end their career. Um, there is a vaccine for it, but the vaccine isn't perfect. So it's, yeah, like our flu vaccines, basically, where it makes the disease less potent in that animal, but they still will experience some of the disease, most likely. And so, what was impressive with that particular outbreak is that they basically shut down everything and tracked these horses really well. And we had one horse in South Dakota that had it that ended up dying, but it didn't spread beyond that.
You mentioned disease, and one of the things that is a indicator of West Nile virus is if we find randomly dead birds. But horses can be affected by West Nile too. Do you see it very commonly, or do you see that the vaccine for West Nile in horses is fairly effective?
Yeah, the vaccine is very effective. And actually, my family had some of the first horses in South Dakota that died of West Nile. I think it was, my uncle would correct me, but probably in 1999. And so after that, when we realized this is really real and then they developed the vaccine for it, the vaccine is really effective. I've been in vet bed for 9 years now and I haven't seen a single case of West Nile, but also I work with horses that are vaccinated.
That makes a big difference in so many ways. So, Lainey, don't
Mm-hmm.
go anywhere. We've got more questions for you that we do want to continue. Again, our guest today is Lainie Scholtz. Schultz or Stoltz? There's an O in there.
Schultz, yep.
Okay, Schultz. And she is True North Vet Health. We're talking about horses and show cattle today. After the news, we'll return to continue our conversation. Hopefully everything is running so smoothly on your farm during planting right now. You have little to worry about. But if you're in the tractor and you're thinking about, I should make sure I'm not getting hacked, here is your chance to go look at techsupport.farm, do the fence check assessment, and just grade. How is your cybersecurity? Could it be better? Well, if so, Tech Support Farm can help you out. Check them out at techsupport.farm. Our guest today is Lainie Scholtz. She is True North Vet Health, specializing in horses and then also in show cattle. All right, so Lainie, I need you to help me out. I grew up with beef cattle, but not showing. Are there some common injuries that happen in show animals that I'm just maybe not thinking about?
Yeah, it's definitely because we have asked these cattle to genetically outperform previous cattle and genetic lines. They grow really fast, so we do see a lot of juvenile arthritis. They have different lesions within their hocks and stifles that cause pain. And also because of their lifestyles, a lot of them are living in coolers all summer. They can get a lot of back pain. It's kind of like us when we become couch potatoes and our backs get weak. And then when we take them to a show, then they are expected to stand for several hours at a time and do a lot of walking. So they actually have to be pretty physically fit, which is definitely part of what keeps me in business is these cattle get sore. So
Is bovine arthritis, I mean, do you see that very often? It sounds like you probably do.
yeah. And it's mostly just because of fast growing genetics and then really high octane feed to make them grow even faster too.
How do you treat that? Are you doing some sort of like a chiropractic care or acupuncture for them? Because I know those are actually real things.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we do a lot of acupuncture and chiropractic in show cattle. They can get joint injections just like horses can if they're really painful. We do shockwave on them, which is a type of sound wave that helps decrease pain. And I think that my alternative medicine business will increase specifically this year because I heard that South Dakota most likely won't be allowing any drugs to be in their show cattle, which is new for us. Minnesota and Iowa don't allow any drugs in their animals for showing. And so, one of the main things we can do to help them drug free is with acupuncture and chiropractic.
So when you say drugs in show cattle, is it like pain relievers? If you have arthritis, you take some
Yeah.
extra Tylenol. What is okay? I was going to ask if you could explain what that means.
Yeah, so I mean, they're just like us, where they have nonsteroidal anti-inflammatories. Meloxicam is the most common one that is approved for use in cattle. So we have known withdrawals, so it is legal. But depending on the show that you're at, it may not be legal for that specific show.
So you mentioned earlier small surgery. What types of things happen at your clinic where there might be surgery required?
Yeah, we do just generalized surgery like castrations, hernia repairs, laceration repairs, eye removals, mass removals, those kind of things in horses and cattle.
I think that it's probably a bit of a surprise to folks. First of all, you're not exactly making house calls. Generally speaking, your clientele is coming to you. And
Yeah.
when you work on horses, do you use the big table? Because I think that's kind of mind blowing to a lot of folks that that's one way to actually get better access to the animal.
Yeah, not with horses. I do have a tilt
Okay.
table that we use for cattle lameness. So
Okay.
all lameness starts from the ground up. So we're looking at the foot first and then working our way up the limb. And so, yeah, horses, we're picking up their feet and visually inspecting them, using a hoof tester to see if they're sore. And then cattle, we're putting them on the tilt table so that we can take a look at their feet too. And then we have an indoor lameness area that we do our cattle and equine lameness in. So horses are trotted and loped around, and cattle are just hand walked out there. But it's been a huge blessing to us because we can work in inclement weather, which we never used to be able to
Hmm.
do. So it's been really fun.
And a tilt table really is what it sounds like. The animal stands beside it. You can securely strap them to it, and lay them over on their side, right? And it's kind of
Yeah.
like going to the doctor's office and getting on the exam table for you, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And yet we have a hydraulic tilt table, which is nice too. So it just squishes them in there so they can't wiggle around and get hurt. And then we, yep, take a look at their feet.
Do do horses and cattle, especially in these areas, I was going to say arenas, which literally and figuratively, with when you have show cattle and rodeo horses, are they on a bit of a vitamin regimen or supplements? Certainly high octane feeds, but are you doing something different in addition to that?
Yeah, I mean, these animals eat better than any person that I know. So they're always on joint supplements. They're on omega-3 fatty acids. I mean, they're on, if you asked any show cattle person, they're on a million different supplements. It's pretty impressive that all these guys can and ladies can keep all these supplements straight because they have carts literally of supplements. And I do some show pig work too. And we bought a show pig after it was done showing from one of my clients. And I always joke that when I eat that, then I'm getting all my vitamins and glucosamine and chondroitin that I need for the day. So
That's the healthiest pork you've ever had.
yes, yes. And it's so impressive how they take care of these animals. I mean, they are washed multiple times a day sometimes. They're exercise, they get chiropractic and massage, and yeah, it's good meat if you can get a hold of some.
And as part of your practice include like physical therapy? Because I know you said you have an arena where you can check for lameness, etc. But I would imagine you're also doing that to help animals recuperate.
Yeah, we do discuss it. I don't have anywhere to keep or house animals long term, but we
Mhm.
definitely give a lot of physical therapy protocols out to our clients. And specifically with show cattle, it's mostly just more walking and going over different surfaces and just getting them in shape for those long days that we're expecting them to deal with.
You know, one of the ways that I came across you and your business is the fact that you do some writing for an area publication in a weekly column. So I was curious if you want to, mention which publication that you're in, but also some of the topics of articles that you have written over the last few years.
Yeah, I when I worked in Miller, so that was 8 years ago or so. They asked me to start writing for the Tri-State Neighbor because they had that column, and I think they were just getting really busy, and I was the newest grad, and so I got chosen to write for it, and I like writing anyway. So yeah, I've been writing for the Tri-State Neighbor for probably 7 or 8 years for sure. And it kind of just depends on what I'm up to. So what topic it will be. When I was in mixed animal practice, I certainly did a lot of herd health and small animal stuff, but now it's mostly targeted toward horse work, and then show cattle stuff. But I also like to keep up with just the national news of, like, the new world screwworm and things like that are happening in the cattle industry. So I'll still write about those kind of hot topics.
As a veterinarian in South Dakota, have you had some concerns about New World screwworm coming into the state? Or so far, we really haven't had any confirmed sightings, if you will, in the U.S. What does that
Yeah.
look like from your perspective?
Yeah, I mean, I think the government is doing its best to try to make sure that it's not coming across our borders. And I haven't looked into it very recently, but the last that I saw, they were trying to get more of those sterile screwworms released so that they
Hmm.
don't breed and want to come north. So, yeah, pretty impressive what the collective can do to keep all of our cattle safe.
And there's been some tempor conditionally approved products from the FDA that can be of use as well. So I think those joint efforts, putting multiple things together, is probably going to
Yeah.
be what helps us out the most. If we get New
Yeah,
World screwworm
exactly.
up here, it's our domestic herds and our wildlife, and there's no distinguishing by a parasitic fly. It's just going to happen to everybody, I'm afraid.
Yes, yes, exactly.
Well, you mentioned rodeo for yourself. What events?
Yeah, I barrel race, and I have since high school, and so it's been really fun these past few years to just be able to delve in. And I do the South Dakota Rodeo Association, Minnesota Rodeo Association, and then the Women's Professional Rodeo Association. So super fun. It gives me something to look forward to outside of work because as a veterinarian, our days are long and we definitely need something else to focus on. So usually go pretty hard all summer and get to enjoy this beautiful country, a lot of drive time. So
The farm kid in me has to ask, what is the meanest breed of horse and why is it a Shetland pony? Why are they always the meanest little ones anywhere you go? Good grief.
Oh my gosh. I know. Yes. Ponies are inherently hard. I think they just have to be tough because they're little and yeah, they're spicy.
Spicy biters, that's what they are. So, okay.
Yes.
Lainie,
Yes.
thank you for taking the time to visit today. We don't often come across folks who work so heavily with horses and also with show cattle. So, appreciate the time today. And where could people find information about your clinic if they're curious?
Yeah, you can look us up online at truenorthvethealth.com or call or text anytime at 605-270-7735.
Thanks so much for all of your help today, Lainie. We greatly appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.
All right. Well, when we come back, we'll have an update, I should say, on a very chilly start to the week. A little bit of light rain on radar right now. We'll detail that and let you know of some warmer weather that will head our way as we head towards the end of the week. More on that when we come back. And welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus. It's a chilly one out there with temperatures across the area in the 40s, even a few 30s mixed in northeastern part of the state. Temperatures 43 in Grand Forks. We're at 46 here in the FM area, mid-40s, pretty common across much of the area. I don't see us getting out of the 40s this afternoon now with a lot of cloud cover. We're about done with the sunshine, I think, for today. Might see a few breaks in the clouds towards evening, but other than that, it's going to be a pretty cloudy, breezy, chilly day today. And then as we head into tonight, we'll see a few breaks in the clouds down into the 20s. And tomorrow, rinse and repeat, very similar to today with a lot of cloud cover around, maybe a sprinkle or two. That's about it with the highs in the mid to upper 40s. And then we'll finally see a little more sun. Don't expect a lot, though, on Wednesday, but a little bit more with highs close to 50. And then we'll see more sun as we head into Thursday and Friday with temperatures rebounding into the mid to upper 50s on Thursday, right around 60 on Friday. And the weekend, we rebound back into the low to mid 60s on Saturday. And then cold front comes through Saturday late in the day, and that will cool us down into the upper 50s for Mother's Day. Right now, it looks pretty good for the fishing opener across much of the state of Minnesota. Maybe some morning showers in the far northern and northeastern part of the state for the fishing opener on Saturday, but other than that, it should be pretty dry. Temperatures seasonally mild, and then for Mother's Day, don't forget Mom this weekend. Spoiler. It should be okay to get out and about. Just a little cooler back into the 50s. But all in all, not a bad-looking forecast as we get towards the end of the week. But a very, very chilly start. And like I said earlier, Bridgette, over the next 10 days, we're not looking at much precip across not only our area, but also into areas of most of South Dakota. Most of the Dakotas and into western Minnesota, not going to see much over the next 10 days in terms of precip. We'll have a little bit here and a little bit there, but over the next 10 days, it'll be probably, if we see a 1/10 of an inch, I'd be surprised.
Well, we have a listener question, and that is, can they plant outdoor flowers next week? Is it finally going to be to the point where we don't have to worry about nighttime lows?
Not next week. Yeah, wait till after Mother's Day. We have that one cool shot coming in. Mother's Day, that following Monday and Tuesday. After that, so I say the Tuesday after Mother's Day, I think we're good. That's when we'll start to see that ridge that's been out to the west slowly build eastward, and as it does, we'll start to see those temperatures rebound to at or above normal. So I would say the Tuesday after Mother's Day, after that Tuesday, I think we're good to go.
Well, we can continue to celebrate all good things going on. Not only will we get Mother's Day coming up, it is Beef Month. It is also Mental Health Awareness Month. And especially for those who are trying to get a crop planted right now, keep an eye on your friends, your neighbors, yourself, and make sure to ask people if they're doing okay. And make sure to listen when they give those answers as well. Did want to mention that the Agronomist Happy Hour podcast, new episode, dropped yesterday. So if you want to go check that out, especially if you're in the tractor, you're like, boy, I need something new to listen to. And I've been through most of my regulars. Again, that's the Agronomist Happy Hour podcast. It'd be a great one for you to go check out. For those who are on a parts run and you want to sneak away for a minute, well, our own Bonnie Amistadi will be at Heritage Homes this afternoon. She's on location for the Parade of Homes at the Ranch at Sunset Valley in Horace. It starts today at 3:30. She'll be there from 3:30 to 6, I believe. And stop out, see the new clubhouse and the model homes, especially with main level living floor plans. That's the Ranch at Sunset Valley in Horace. The whole shebang starts at about 4 o'clock. And Bonnie said she'd be in her ad. She said she'd be out there a little early, around 3:30. But you can look at those details online at heritagefargo.com. When we think about what's been going on in the whole crude oil pricing situation, et cetera. I mean, I know all that stuff changes and goes up every single day or goes up every day. We talked about last week how there's going to be an increase in clothing costs, especially with polyesters, rayons, and other synthetic fibers. Wool and cotton are going to take advantage of this. They are much more in demand, and so might corn. Yes, indeed. The National Corn Growers Association has mentioned and are talking more about a company called Core, Q-O-R-E. They are a joint venture between Cargill and Helm, and they're working on making a sustainable clothing line an option for clothing manufacturers. they are looking at especially doing it in the athleisure wear lineup. So for those of you who love your yoga pants, hoodies, joggers, and I thought those were still called sweatpants, but silly me. And really, it's a corn-based textile. I don't think this is too far off from some of the corn-based plastics that we have seen developed. There's a plant down at Blair, Nebraska that currently makes those. But again, this could be a whole new sector in clothing and textile for corn production. So you can eat corn in a variety of ways. You can use corn for fuel. And now you could even wear it. And why wouldn't you? Sounds like a perfectly great idea to me. Now, the Purdue University has come out with a nationwide report about a concerning trend. Now, the total number of grain dust explosions went down in 2025, but the severity of the incidents measured by injuries and fatalities did increase. There were 7 grain dust explosions in 2025. That's a slight decrease from the year before, when there were 9. However, the human toll was higher. In 2025, those explosions resulted in 4 fatalities and 10 injuries compared to 2024, 0 fatalities and only 2 injuries. We hate to see any injuries at all. Where are some of these happening? 2 of these were at grain elevators. So think about a grain elevator. You're pulling in with a truck, whether it's a straight truck, semis, etc. You're dropping off corn, soybeans, wheat. Dust accumulation happens. There are dust accumulator removal systems, but we can still have dust happen. 1 farm-operated grain elevator, so somebody was doing it on their own farm. A seed processing facility can also have dust, especially as we're cleaning seed. 1 was a feed mill. 1 was a flour mill, and 1 was a biofuels plant. And the biofuels plant was actually in South Dakota. Now, interesting enough, I've talked about this story on 2 of our stations earlier today, and most everybody was surprised when we had the reminder that it might not be a flour mill, and we're very, very lucky here that American Crystal Sugar, Mindoc Farmers Cooperative, and then the Southern Minnesota Farmers Cooperative down at Renville take very, very good care of their plants in their sugar production. Sugar dust is highly flammable. That would be an explosion. Normally, in grain dust explosions, by the way, it's not the first one that's the worst. It's the secondary explosion that's usually bigger. It's a domino effect and it triggers. What can cause those? Primary ignition sources might be smoldering grain. You have hot grain in a bin that gets way too warm. You can have grain equipment maintenance. Bearings go out, belts slip or break, and you get overheated mechanical systems. And that certainly can do it. But again, we have a critical need to keep up our grain dust accumulations systems to prevent those explosions. We also make sure that folks are doing a tremendous amount of preventative maintenance and keep those grain temperatures monitored well so that we don't have smoldering corn or other grains that could in fact be the spark that ignites an explosion in situation. Thanks again to Landmark Companies, to Blake Sunday for traveling with me this morning. We went out to that Tower City, Oriska, Valley City area, had a chance to visit with about 5-6 different farmers, had a great morning. If you'd like to be part of Flag a Farmer, I'll be doing it again with Geronimo Power very soon.
All right, and that'll do it for today's edition of Weather and Ag in Focus. Don't go anywhere. The Jay Thomas Show is coming up next.